economic boycott, choosing the right places where we can really make the difference is a very, very important. That's or else. You know, and you hit people where it hurts, and then you just make them aware. Like the minister said, a recent I saw a brother here. He did. He talked about some very, very. What does or else mean? You know, very, very.
If you don't get justice, what does or else mean?
Oh, that's a great question. Thank you, questioner.
Special opportunities for us. One thing Captain Dennis has in the community, peacekeepers. 10,000 men taking care of our own community, directing them to the right places when they need help. I know we're involved in probably 20 cities, Captain Dennis? 23 cities, we have peacekeepers. We need men, trained men, to take care of our own community and teach and to raise up our community. The thing, I say that without Minister Farrakhan, I might not be here. I probably wouldn't be here. I mean, we had mosque, steak and take, and I think a rehab on the corner, and Hollis Avenue, and Larry Lucas cleaners. So you know Larry Lucas was Frank Lucas' brother. So we had a terrible neighborhood during the heroin epidemic, but we had the brothers on the corner. And there was no church members standing on the corner, the brothers on the corner that spoke to us and changed our lives, a lot of our lives. So it's about self-love. I think a lot of it's self-love. If you love yourself, you can go out into the world and you can contribute to the world and you can bring home the bacon. You know, and so, you know, you can bring home the lunches. You know, I want to fix it, but it's just, you got to get better. The economics of the black community are not better. The disparity between the rich and poor is not smaller. By far, it's much bigger. Prison, the school, the pipeline. They're looking at third grade, figuring out who's going to jail. That's still there. I think prison reform is a big issue. I know I skipped the subject, but that's something I'll go right back to because, you know, so many people are in prison who are just innocent, diseased, and non-violent and need real rehabilitation. Also, in the bill that's coming up, it's about the way we treat our children that we incarcerate. It's a very, very important thing about what we do to our children that we incarcerate and what we incarcerate them for. So I think that there's a lot of people, just the economics of it, it always goes back to business. I think the economics, except for the prison industrial complex that's making so much money, is draining the taxpayers. The money that could be used for education. California is coming second. Having those states lead the way is good, but it should be a federal law. Police should not police themselves. If they police themselves, if your brother kills somebody, you bury the body. So that's the reality. If your brother kills somebody, you bury the body. The DA can't prosecute. That sister in Baltimore is brave. It was obvious she had to do what she did, but she was brave. Because she's going up against her partners. Every time she has to prosecute somebody, she needs them. Every time they need each other. So they shouldn't be in a position where the police have to police themselves. That leaves us with a police state. For hundreds of years, we've been getting our ass whipped. And there's been nobody to give them any kind of oversight. So if we can pass this legislation, and the president needs to see this legislation before the end of the year. So we have to, one of the things that come out of this march, we have to push our legislators to get that bill together with the Republicans to get in front of the president's desk so he can sign it before the end of the year. That has to happen. What came out of the first march was nothing short of a miracle. The change in so many men, the families, the organizations that got so many volunteers, the number of new voters. If we could get, I only pray that we get a piece of that. But I do pray, we talk about justice or else, I do pray that we get to push those bills through Congress, that we get to continue to support our brothers and sisters who are not even from our community, who want to reduce the prison population, that we get to change the drug laws and push for those drug laws, because they are changing, but too slow. The disparity between crack and cocaine is still there. Not as bad, but it's still there. There's a lot of work to do, and we got to do a lot of it while this president's in office. You know, if we get another Democrat and it's Hillary, she may be helpful, but I don't think that a Republican will help us. We have to do this now. So I think this march, if we can create awareness around these subjects, and we can push for them, and if we can have a little Black Friday, let them know that it's a real Black Friday, and we could pick the right places to target, it would be fantastic.
Well, I would say something that I think that people should understand is to, when they hear the minister say that he is here as a physical manifestation of God, that they would look at what his track record has been in terms of how he brought the nation back from near death and has it as a thriving institution for the liberation of our people, and taking men and women out of the streets who were spiritually, mentally, psychologically beat down and near death, and who are now productive citizens. That's one aspect of a man who is a manifestation of God. Then when you take the impossibility of calling for 1 million men to come to Washington, D.C., that has never happened in the history of the world, and aired in any form of media that he was out of his mind. It had never happened, and it was never going to happen, and they laughed at him. The minister was wrong. It wasn't 1 million. It was many more than 1 million. Now he's back 20 years later, 82 years old, having crisscrossed this country for months now, generating interest, generating exposure for the ills that our community continues to suffer, and calling on a rallying march, Justice for Else, with an incredible explanation and a demand for justice and an explanation for what or else means. I would only hope that anyone in the sound of my voice would heed his extraordinarily wise and godly words.
I think I already know the answer to this question, but of the issues that are being discussed by Minister Farrakhan, there are many. He's talking about the immigration issue. He's talking about justice for the Latinos and Native Americans. He's talking about the prison industrial complex, veterans, business. Which point, as it relates to justice, stands out to you the most? What do you think is the most important?
You know what? I don't think that I characterize them in any particular order. Because when you talk about the prison industrial complex, the families who are victimized by this, quote, war on drugs, which was simply another form of institutionalized slavery, those victims who have sons and daughters in the justice system behind bars, that's their greatest priority, perhaps. And then any of the other issues are important to those people who it's most affected by. What I love about what the minister is doing is he's talking about justice across the board. That is what is needed. Look, we are a grown-up people now. He's an extraordinarily grown-up man that can go well beyond walking and chewing at the same time and doing a whole bunch of other things also. So he has a broad agenda, all of which we should put emphasis on.
Last question was about the economic withdrawal. That's a big deal coming out of this. The 10-10 is important, but 10-11, in the economic withdrawals, Black Friday, and dealing with the past consumerism.
My thoughts on that are I can never articulate as eloquently as the minister does. However, the thing that can most accelerate justice is for this community, which has a $30 trillion war chest, if you will, to withdraw its dollars. This country is a capitalist giant losing its way in the world, but still a giant. And the way to have the quickest, most impactful consequence is for us to be wise as to how we spend our money, and very importantly, how we choose not to spend our money. They will start coming, those who have been practicing injustice would drop their behavior. I don't care what their attitude is. We want to know what the behavior is. And if we use our money wisely, we will change their behavior and we'll get justice. To hell with what they think.
Hey,
Baby girl, baby girl, baby girl, baby girl.
how are you?
Good question.